Purchase of America. There's a book called The Purchase of America. And go all the way back, maybe the 1500s. Don't start at 1776. 1776 was just the Certificate of Independence, where they left the rulership of England, because everybody was under protection of the Queen. Not the Indians. The Indians were never under protection of the Queen. The Indians have been running this country before the Pilgrims come, and the only reason for independence was America wanted to deal with the Indians by themselves. America wanted to make the Indians citizens. England wanted to make the Indians citizens, and America wanted to kill them. Thus, all your westerns about the cowboys and Indians, and Injun Joe, and all these movies. See, the first enemy was the Indian. I was against the Indian because the Indian took the Bible and told the white man that the true slave was not the Indian, but the true slave was the Negro. And the white man said, hey, they do work harder. They are much stronger. Trying to simulate and show that the red face was just as popular as the white face. And they went to King Solomon in the Bible and talked about face and the master and misconstrued it as a nigger. And they said, oh, it's in the Bible. The Negro is a slave. So they enslaved us. We ran a pilgrimage to Africa, where everybody, come on, go back to Africa. Go back to Africa where you belong. The true Christians, which at this time we would call the Hebrews and the Israelites. I'm about to tell you something major before y'all start walking around talking about anti-Semitism and white-faced Jews and all this other bullshit. The Hebrews were captured and enslaved. They were set in a separate part in captivity around Egypt and Jordan. And they were the promised people of God. They all were from the land of Hebron. Hold on to that. Israelites were the people of Israel. A person who lives in Israel is not called an Israelite. A person who lives in Israel is called a what? Israeli. Does Israelite and Israeli sound the same to you? The name of the land was the land of Sem. And the people of Sem were called Semites. Now hold on to that. That's how we get the word Semitism, the belief in Sem. There was a TV show, a little cartoon called Johnny Quest, where the little black boy had the Hindu rag because he was an Indian, East Indian, because you had the East Indian and you had the West Indian. Hold it. And he used to say, Sim Salabim. Every time he did his little magic, he'd say, Sim Salabim. He was using his magical powers like a genie. His key, they call it, chi. And it's actually an Arabic statement. I don't know what it means, because it's been so long ago. But I know Allah is God. Sim Salabim. I'll find out and get back to you. I know something about God's will or something like that. So, but you don't see Johnny Quest come on too much no more. They take a lot of stuff off. It's putting too much knowledge into the atmosphere. and want to keep you feel little stupid stuff. Because now Tom and Jerry is coming back on television as a cartoon. So they pause so they can come back every 10 years and fill your head with stupid stuff. Whereas other shows have been going on for 15, 20 years, like The Simpsons. I think they're on season 12 or 14, never stopped.
No, they're season 35. Sorry.
Right. So they never stopped. There was no hiatus. Like Knight Rider, stopped. Reruns came on, stopped. Reruns come on, stop. Reruns come on. But other shows don't go into hiatus because it's political backing. Matt Groening and the writers of that show have great backlash in my life and my brief. I'm going to get to it. So when you see these Israelites, let's get to the Israelites, they ran to Africa and said, we seek asylum from the white man. White man came on ships looking for us because we were wealthy, we were intelligent, we were resourceful. The Africans were ignorant people. They going around fighting each other and making tribes and divisions amongst themselves when there were more Africans united than the entire population of the United States. Hold it. Because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. They divided themselves based on tribe, based on area. But let's say you take the city of Baltimore, and the Waikiki was on the east side of Baltimore, and the Waikutu was on the west side of Baltimore. Eventually, y'all got to get to North Avenue, and then what happens? Then they have a battle and have a war, and people die or people get killed. So the white man took that same education. Black people destroyed themselves when they challenged themselves over territory. They took that same education and said, here go the Bloods right here. Here go the Crips right there. Here go the 5G Mafia right there. Here go the Gorilla family right here, Black Gorilla. And they all fighting over each other and killing themselves. The white man says, ha ha, it works. So you can ask yourself, when you talk about racism ends with black people, and racism starts with black people. The white man only exploits it. He didn't create racism. Black people created racism. White man didn't create slavery. The black people created slavery. How do I know? How did the Israelites get captured? They were free people. The Israelites were captured because the Africans gave them up. Said, here are the foreigners of our land. So those of us who were killed, those who were captured were enslaved and were taught how to speak English, still resourceful, still intelligent, and still have the names of our ancestors. It's hard to find them. But thanks to Descendants.com and your fingerprints and your DNA, you can backtrack. But most of your ancestors should backtrack to Trinidad, or what's Trinidad today, Trinidad, Madagascar, Estonia, or some other black dynasty. And I say black dynasty because dynasty used to be the form of government. Look that up. There's a difference between a dynasty, a republic, an aristocrat, a bureaucracy, a monarchy. They're all different forms of government. And blacks preferred dynasty. America is rich enough to have a dynasty, but they don't trust to be independent. So you got to have somebody rule over top of you. I believe in autonomy. Give me the rules. Let us follow those rules and go on about your business. I also believe in the death penalty. You kill somebody, kill them back. I don't want to hear no excuses about mental illness. I don't hear no excuses about I couldn't help it. It was an accident. Kill them, kill them. Matter of fact, I go 3 steps farther. Give the rights of judgment into the hands of the victim. I think that's justified. I don't think if something happens to me or my family, I feel comfortable with some white man telling me what's justice. It didn't happen to you. It happened to me. So if I say I want you to chop the person's head off, you should chop the person's head off. But in America, you have more rights as a criminal than you do as a law-abiding citizen. And that's why the crime is so high and intensified. I'm a law-abiding citizen, no criminal record. Someone breaks into my home, I shoot the individual, I'm going to jail for murder. White man does the same thing I did, same situation, same justification. Glad you had that gun. Who knows what he would have did to your children? The filthy nigga. Nothing happens. I use a weapon. I go to jail. Why is it that way? Because black people create that racism. You create that racism because you sit back and allow things to happen without, quote unquote, putting your foot down. Do you ever have a dream that starts out nice and then it turns into a nightmare and you jump up in a panic and you're like, oh, I just had a nightmare? That's racism. Let me explain. When you go to sleep and you have a dream, it is your dream. It is your brain. You are the driver of your dream and your brain. What happens for your dream to become a nightmare is that somehow you become a passenger in your dream and allow your brain to take over. And now you're running from your own brain, and now it's a nightmare. You lost control of something you had full control of. I'm going to say it one more time. You lost control of something you had full control of. Somebody need to write that down and highlight it and underline it. You lost control of something you had full control of. When you have an accident, one of the two of you lost control of something you had full control of. Somebody didn't stop when they're supposed to stop. Somebody didn't go when they're supposed to go. Somebody didn't signal when they're supposed to signal. So they lost control of something they had full control of. Abigail 448 says, I love that type of preaching, Dr. Q. Yeah, I appreciate it. I ain't trying to preach. I'm trying to educate. So, when you're stopped by the police and the police says, where you coming from? What you have to eat? You're not my friend. I don't know you. You didn't pull me over to have a conversation. My response, well, you know, officer, I do have things to do. I know you didn't stop me for a conversation. What do you need? How can I help you? Because the police work for me. But if you had the mindset that you're subject to them to help, the key word is civil servant. Servant, E-R-V-A-N-T, and master. Keep in mind now, my taxes pay your salary. So, and I'm an adult. Now, to a child, yes, you're subject to them. As an adult, no, you're subject to me. Even a judge is subject to me. Because I got to pay the court costs for the judge to get paid. Failure to pay the court costs, you can hold me in contempt. And contempt just means you're not being respectful to the wishes of the